So if we look at it, how is the government supporting for this? There is actually tremendous support from the government, especially in agriculture sector, with tax breaks. There's also a lot of support with cash incentives, almost 20% cash incentives, depending on agro products that we actually export. So that is a huge incentive that we have, and I'm sure our panelists will later can talk about it. At the same time, because of these things, even in the past 10 years, we have actually seen more than 500 new agricultural factories. We've seen more than 500,000 employment in these sectors. 200 factories that do export-oriented products of agriculture. And there's a lot of support that we actually get with kind of the event we're having with the partners of like this event, even BIDA, even BESA and BEBS and all of them. So if we continue, we also know in terms of the infrastructure, there's a lot of growth that's happening. Bangladesh has made great strides in the last 15 years. And in terms of connectivity in Bangladesh, in terms of transportation connectivity, we have tremendous connectivity now. So agricultural products can get to the urban areas much better than it used to before. And all of this is actually really attractive for foreign investors. So foreign investors to come in, the kind of 100% ownership that is allowed in Bangladesh, the kind of double taxation treaties we have, these are all actually very encouraging, especially the infrastructure development with kind of the new ports that are coming up, whether it's Paira, whether it's Matabari, the Mongla. So all of these things are actually going to help us in that sense. So if we continue, this presentation, as I said, FAO and Agriculture Ministry, I took a lot of help from them. We actually see there's a lot of investment that has already taken place, and there's a lot of investments that are actually even coming currently, even directly from World Bank and other funds. And a lot of this, even the private sector can tap into in PPP partnerships. And I'm sure if you reach out to both IFAD or with FAO or even with the Agriculture Ministry, you'll get to find out a lot of information and support there. So if we look in terms of thematic sense, where are really the opportunities for investment? Because that's something that we talked about. There's a lot of opportunities in cold storage, agro-processing, climate-smart agriculture, and I think that's important. I could go on and on about this, but you know, like we talk about the potatoes and the onions and the fruits and everything. Just think about it, even in potatoes, we have more than 25 to 50% actually harvest loss that happens in basically in the transportation and after post-harvest. So if there is a lot of cold storage is done, there's investment that is needed in it, then we will see a lot of dramatic change in that in terms of the produce and all of those things, the quality and the year-round supply that we will have. And what the real thing over here is, and the opportunity here is not only in potatoes, but also in onions. You have it in mangoes, you have it in tomatoes. So all of these sectors, we have a lot of opportunity actually going forward. And the important thing is, it's not only that how we are storing them and keeping them, it's also what we're producing, what kind of potatoes. Is this potatoes the right potatoes actually to make chips or other things? A lot of it is not. So that is where we need to really go forward. There's also a lot of other investment opportunities. I don't want to take too much time because I'm sure we want to hear all the panelists speak. So I just want to say that you know, the women's involvement, and we'll talk about this in agriculture, I think this is a very telling number if you look at the left, and I think we're unaware of this, maybe, or I'm sure we should be. Women actually play a much bigger role than even men, even in the rural and even in the urban area in terms of agriculture and support of agriculture. So I think what really is telling over here is, where does this inequality come from? And one of the biggest part that inequality actually comes from is that women don't have land ownership. And unfortunately, in terms of their status and equality, that actually makes a big impact in that sense. At the same time, mobility for women is also restricted in terms of where they can go. Things are actually changing much more over here. They are participating more and more in trainings, but there are obstacles that happen, whether it's from family, especially the husband or in-laws. So these are the restrictiveness that we see that comes in for women, and that actually affects even their impact for supporting even in agriculture in that sense. If we go on about it, I think women's participation is significant, as I said earlier, especially in livestock and poultry. According to the opinion of female farmer in decision making, where to buy or sell, that decision, even if they have the impact, depends on the male members. So those are the things that maybe we can talk about, and those are the things that needs to change. But the microfinancing institutions, as we know, MFIs over the years, has had a huge impact in supporting, especially whether it's in poultry, whether it is even in dairy, where they do support the woman in that sense. And we actually see, if you think about it, that if women had the same level of access as man, then the basic increase in yield would have been 20 to 30%. So the reason it doesn't happen is because they have control of less land. So I just wanted to end with that basically I think we see that there's a lot of involvement. Women have had the most contribution to the growth of vegetable production in Bangladesh. They play a really vital role in expansion of especially horticulture and gardening. And I think there's a high possibility that women actually can play a role, as we see with, as I said earlier, by 2030 we're going to see processed food having been an industry of $5 to $6 billion, especially with food franchises and other things that are happening. So even in the urban centers and all, I think women can play a much bigger role going forward. I don't want to take much more time than this. Thank you very much for listening. Once again, I really want to thank especially FAO and also the Agriculture Ministry, who both really helped me, especially if I name a few, Mr. Saso Martinov, the Program Manager of FAO, Ms. Ruka Akhtar, who is the National Gender Specialist of FAO. There's a lot of information that she has. If you want to reach out, I can give the contact. And also Mr. Ruhnamin Taluk, the Additional Secretary of the Agriculture Ministry. And I think our Honorable Minister of Agriculture Ministry is a really brilliant man. This hand-in-hand initiative, which is a fantastic initiative. I had a wonderful opportunity to go to Netherlands with him last year and truly learned a lot. So I hope we can have an interesting conversation in the panel. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much. I think we will start with our panel discussion, and we will start with our guest who's joining virtually, and that is Mr. Andreas Kouniniottis, who has joined us from Greece. For 5 generations, this group, the Kouniniottis group, has developed its expertise in cultivation, processing, packaging, and export of currants, sultanas, and a variety of dried fruits from around the world. They're one of the top 10 exporters of these commodities, and they're very, very big in Greece and elsewhere. The company now operates its state-of-the-art facilities using innovative systems and machinery of the latest technology. We're very happy to have you with us. Can you hear me, Andreas?
Yes, yes, no problem.
Okay, great. Can you tell us a little bit more about how the global processing industry, since you joined in the 80s, how has it changed over the years, and where do you see it going?
Right. Firstly, I would like to say hi to all the participants in the conference, and a big thanks to the organizers that made it happen, and I'm sure it's going to be a great success. I'm talking to you from Greece, which is far away, a small country. I just heard that Bangladesh was smaller than the previous speaker. Greece is actually much smaller, with only 10 million people, but with a big history, especially in civilization as it stands now. But let's go to our subject now. And I'm going to more or less focusing on the things that we have already passed and things that we know. Up to the early 80s, most of the world consumed fresh and tinned agricultural, meat, and fish products through, generally speaking, a small family grocery food store. Some of us can remember tin products sold in this kind of shops, like baked beans, like corned beef as meat, and like sardines in tin. Food processing at that time was focusing on mainly on cleaning and packaging. Heavy processed products with additive preservatives were mainly consumed and sold in US and UK. The 80s were dominated by the expansion of the supermarkets, and thus the need for secure quality products to satisfy the customers and avoid potential lawsuits forced the improvement of the processed food industry. This actually helped the food industry because supermarkets were implementing a lot of controls. That was the time where we moved from bulk to packed products. In the 90s, we have another movement. The semi-cooked foods were introduced and in the supermarkets. And the supermarket, which was a pioneer in that sector, was Marks and Spencer in England. And thus followed more, this trend was also followed by the other countries as well. In the next decade, supermarkets have introduced ready meals. You can go to a supermarket now in North Europe, in the States, in Canada, in United Kingdom, and you can find ready meals in the supermarkets on the shelves, as well as cooked products, cooked food in the supermarkets, also in store bakeries, where pre-baked products are also sold. That has been created by the need for individuals, which sometimes they are alone and don't have a family, and families as well, that they didn't have time to cook at home. As housewives, a lot of times now, are becoming more part of the working force. In these 20 years, up to the beginning of the new century, processed foods were dominating the market in the developed world, with the rest of the world lagging a bit behind. However, most of the products were heavily processed with a large portion of preservatives and taste improvements as additives. These products sometimes were accused, and some of these were accused, by creating health problems to the people, and also they were also accused by increasing the number of overweight people in the Western world. That has caused, among other issues, like the climate change that we have, to a market change, to a more healthy approach for processing foods. So, high-end solutions, improved food nutrition, and introduce natural preservatives that they will be proved quality.
Thank you.
Also,
Andreas, in the interest of time, if we can, I think it's quite clear what you've said, that because in the 80s and since then we have evolved, right? We've become more environmentally conscious and we've tried to be more cognizant of who we are affecting. And it's not just business for business sake. I think that's very clear from what you've said. Can you tell us a little bit about your interest in the Bangladeshi market and where it lies exactly in food and agro processing? We would like to know that. Many of us would like to know that here.
Yes, one of the things that I would like also to mention, and in order to be short, that our previous speaker also said, it is that now we have to focus on a target on a zero food waste. This is very important, and as has been also said in the 27th Climate Change Conference, which was held last week in Egypt, it has been focused that frozen food solutions will be of great importance for the near future to prevent food starvation. So that is an element that we have to look at. For ourselves now, as in the Bangladesh, as we are active in dried fruit cultivation and processing since 1876, and at the moment we are exploring fresh frozen foods and vegetables market, we believe that Bangladesh has the needs and the potentials to implement such solutions in both agro and manufacturing level. The size of the country secures the sales volume, which is needed for successful investment, while the increased Bangladesh middle class gives the opportunity and offers to offer good products with better margins.
Thank you, Andreas, and thank you for joining us from Greece. Very kind of you. And we look forward to your involvement in the national markets and your entry as well. We will now move to our national players, but before that,
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I request all of you to turn off your cell phones or turn them to silent? It is not pleasant when we're in a discussion to have sound coming from elsewhere in the room. So please, that would be very nice. We now move to our national players. So thank you, Shushmita Appa and Uzma Appa, for giving us the time and coming here. Ms. Shushmita Anis, MD of ACI Formulations. ACI Formulations was established and incorporated in 1995. It offers crop protection chemicals in granular, powder and liquid forms, and as well as public health products, many of which we use in every household in the country from ACI. You're directly involved in offering farmers solutions that can help increase crop yield. And so you're directly working with the food security of the nation, which is so important, especially now. I think it's a very topical subject right now, because as we now fight global price hikes and look at the supply chain of commodities and how it's affected globally. So from the time that you started working in agriculture and in crop management, crop care, what changes have you seen in the field and in the industry?
First of all, good afternoon, everyone, respected guests, participants, and distinguished guests here. I want to thank the organizers for inviting me here. I want to say, first of all, see, we are directly working at the field level with the farmers. So over the past decade, if I may say, that because we day in and day out actually have meetings with them, interacting with them at the field level, the changes that we have seen over the past 10 years, if I kind of like block it and say, is that more and more women engagement is coming up. Actually, women by design, they were working there before. It's just they're recognized more. But certainly I would say right now, as we speak, the labor shortage in the field we see, it's increasing more. And more women are coming and helping in the field on the lighter kind of work. See, 65% of our crop is rice. In the rice, if we look at it in the pre-harvest stage, about 10% women are engaged in the seedling side, but 95% are engaged in the post-harvest. So there's a lot of activities, but these are not recognized in terms of, it's not tangible, they're not getting paid for it. But certainly, women are also working in the field on the leased lands these days, but we find the wages are 50% less. So that is one aspect of it. We see increasing trend in terms of engagement in the dairy sector for women, cattle being the first one. And you see, as the society is getting more they can afford, their purchasing power is increasing, the protein intake is increasing. So as a result, we see women are more and more getting engaged. They are influencing their husbands more in the crop management decision making. That is also a factor that we see. And I would say that some women are coming forward and doing a lot of seed processing. They're actively engaging in, not so much in fishery, but certainly in livestock, I would say. And in the other sectors, if they are engaged, the other women are kind of encouraging to bring in, especially Muslim women. Generally, Hindu women and Upajati, they are more engaged outside in the field. I think our religion, the Muslims, they tend to be more conservative. I mean, these are the, at first hand, I would say the basic changes. One thing I want to mention, because we do meetings every, at the Upajala level or at every field, the nooks and corners of Bangladesh, let's say 30 farmers if we get, before there was no women in the meetings, let's say 30 out of 30 now we see about 5. There are women farmers who are actually sitting and listening to how, what are the best agronomic practices or the advices they are seeking. So that's a good sign. So they are coming forward. Thank you.
Uzma Chaudhary, Director, Pran RFL Group. Pran is an absolute star when it comes to food processing and agro processing and export of our products. We're very proud to have Pran products across 145 nations now. Pran has its own sales and distribution in the United States, in Australia, in Asia and the Middle East, in Europe and in Africa. And you have a production plant outside of Bangladesh as well, in India. So in food processing and export, what do you think are our prospects as a nation?
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me here. It's a very interesting program, and this is something that we must understand, and we must take initiatives to. I mean, there are some challenges that we have to take and address today, so that Bangladesh can evolve as an exporter, net exporter of goods. We have population, young population, and those population are, most of it is unskilled, but we need to find some job for them. The food processing industry, if I talk about just the industry sector, people who are not skilled, not very educated, it's the ideal sector. However, we need people to be educated in the food processing sector. There are different industries, smaller industries which are linked with the food processing industry, like packaging, like agriculture itself, transportation, making fertilizers, and we need people who will work for the environment. It's not only agriculture that people needs to be, like women need to be engaged at, but we can see more and more population coming in, and outer world is waiting for products. I'll give you just one example of our product, like the brown amshotto, the mango bar. It used to be a regular household item, and like all moms know how to make amshotto at home. But now it's an industrial item going to every single corners of the world, taking the Bangladeshi Amer flag to everywhere. This is possible, this is doable. We have a country where we can grow, I mean, year-round our agriculture can be produced, and we just need to make sure that we increase some shelf life to those products so that we can reach it to the destination and the consumers that they would like to be taking it in that form. I mean, our frozen food item, big market. I mean, it is something that the entire world is waiting for, because nowadays, due to industrialization, people do not have time, and all our Dhaka city people would say that we do not have time to make samosas and shingaras and parathas. I do not know how many of us had paratha made at home, which used to be a regular item for our home, but now it's no more required, and we are dependent on processed food. So if we as Bangladeshis are dependent on the processed foods, just think about the Western world where men, women all are working. So it is, I mean, we have a big world waiting for us.
And what kind of policy level support do you need that would take us to the next level?
Okay. Very interestingly, the government has a lot of good policy level support. Each industry, our livestock industry, our agricultural industry is looking at it, and the policies are being changed every single day with the need of the time and with the need of the processors and producers and exporters. I would say there are some silly things in the policies which get overlooked, and when we bring it to the attention of the government, these gets addressed. And I will just give you an example. Small example would actually help you understand. We get cash incentive for exporting holud, morich, lal morich, but when we package it in a biryani masala, we do not get the cash incentive. Same thing with, it's just not inside the list, in the list of cash incentive. It's not a problem, it's just knowing and addressing and just continuous improvement that is required. And I would say the government is actively working on it. I will give you another example to make you understand. If I export muri, we get cash incentive. If I export chal, we get cash incentive. But when we sell jhal muri, we do not get the cash incentive. So these are like small policy change issues, but very small, that can be addressed very easily.
Thank you, Ismapa. I would like to draw our attention to another side of food processing, which is F-commerce, food processing and F-commerce. Collectively, there are hundreds and thousands of women who process food at home and sell them as well. F-commerce in Bangladesh is a global phenomenon and recognized as such. It has captured as much as the 1/6 of the total e-commerce market in the country, which is about 300 crores BDT annually, according to the IDLC business review that was conducted in 2019. A lot of these F-commerce concerns are obviously run by women, and my company CookUp, since it deals with home cooks, I know them very well, that they're making it at home, right? So I want to ask the panel, what do you think of agro and food processing inside homes? And then they're sold on Facebook. What are your thoughts on it?
It's an evolving industry. We didn't need it yesterday, but we need it today, and we need it for tomorrow. It's something that, I mean, as people in the urban area are getting more involved in the industries, are contribute to the GDP, this becomes a need of the time. You gave the statistics, and the statistics tells us that we actually need it, and it will become a very big industry.
Thank you. Inamhai, would you like to add to this? F-commerce and women involved in making processed food from homes?
Can you hear me? Absolutely. I'll just give one example with our example of Meena Bazaar, our supermarket chain that I'm involved with. You know, I think as Uzmapa here very nicely said, and 22 years ago when Meena Bazaar started, I think my grandmother could never believe that you could actually have the evening namra jetake nasta boli, that's actually going to be not made at home, but that's actually frozen and coming. And all the first ones that were done, that in Meena Bazaar, Agora, then it started coming, were all done by women entrepreneurs. Even certain small bread packaging and everything, it was all women entrepreneurs. So I think this whole sector, in even going forward, and as we were talking about, if we actually have, even with our speaker, the foreign speaker talking about it, that we actually go forward for more supermarkets or more food processing happening throughout the country, we'll see more and more women entrepreneurs being able to contribute here. And same goes for even in through e-commerce, just like CookUps has done and others have done. We saw it in the pandemic. I think Facebook has played a huge role in Bangladesh business, where you just see all the time how food is being made at home and then it's being delivered in the areas, and I think it's a huge business opportunity.
Thank you. If we go back to Shushmita Abba, Ms. Anis, and we're going to ask some policy level questions now. How do you think policies can support us so that we are better in terms of competitiveness, manufacturing competitiveness? How do we make it better, and how do our policies support us?
I think we can make it better if we have more incentive for the right kind of machinery to take it actually to a larger scale. You know, something, when you think of Bangladesh as a whole, the kind of manufacturing, the kind of in terms of agri sector, the kind of things that we're doing, first we have to feed ourselves, and then we have to export the extra. So we have to look at it in the global context. For example, shrimp export, or other like potato chip export. We have to, at the policy level, begin with the R&D of the seed, the right kind of industrial seed that is required to export, let's say, for USA or for other countries. So that deeper level of engagement has to be in terms of the lab and R&D development. That sort of big investment is necessary in order to get the right item, and then follow the good the proper agronomic practices, getting the scientists engaged, doing the right homework with a very big target. I mean, if we do it in that way and capture the entire value chain, and in the process, starting from processing up to the end, the cold storage and the entire transport system. So all the in each of the aspects, whatever are the bottlenecks, if we actually at the policy level look into that and try to help, I think that will help. I'll just give you an example. We are dealing with, because I can only talk about agrochemicals, I know for a fact that a lot of times the port congestion, which is reality, and what happens is a lot of things are stuck there. The raw materials is not coming to the factory in the time that is required. In the process, we are probably missing the season. I cannot reach that particular crop care solution to the ex-farmer in Potuakhali or in Sylhet, and that will affect the yield. So these kind of things, so at policy level, we need to actually look at these problems. We have to identify the problems and deal with the related ministries and combine them together. And that's why, as Vice President of Bangladesh Importers Federation, we have MCCI, we have ABCCI, many associations. If we go at and actually combine the relevant ministries and have a dialogue, and that is the way we can actually develop the right relevant policies. So we have to really begin with the end in mind, that we have to create the right demand and engage it. It has to be a very holistic system. If I could answer you, thank you.
And what is the scope for investment in agribusiness sector with respect to just women?
I think one of the part that is not yet developed, but in the next 5 to 10 years, definitely see the fish. We are freshwater, there's so many rivers, and the fish is something, fish processing. Definitely women can be engaged. Again, that requires, where are we going to be exporting? What is the demand? Can we actually have those organized contract fishing? That sort of area I think can be developed. Instantly, I can say one of the most profitable area where we see women are already doing is in seed production. So if we could have proper training centers, getting the experts to actually, if there was a way to have a single platform where women could be trained, women, men for that matter, could be trained, and they could actually, if necessary, they could lease land, and they would also have the financial training. They will understand what is called return on investment, the entire spectrum, if it's available in a single platform, and then they can actually start. We could have many women entrepreneurs at the rural level, because the real success is to get those women who are there so they can do something within their own periphery, So this is where we want to give this, especially at the Upojela level. They have the Totto Kendro, the information center. That is an area. They can work with the Department of Agricultural Extension advisors, along with all the other agrochemical companies who are working in the field. So I think this is where, I'm just saying seed because it's very profitable, and we can see, and there could be mentorship programs, there could be all kinds of things to actually make all these resources available and the policies to be aligned so that they can actually get the right capital and the right kind of knowledge even before. A lot of, I would say the successful farmers in the field are the ones who seek out and search for help. They go to the nursery, they learn how to do things. So why can't we get all these things under one roof? And the government, I would request in that area to also invest to get these farmers together, so that one can learn from the other, and then it's just a cycle. It will keep on increasing in terms of their economic contribution to Bangladesh. Thank you.
I wanted to add one more point here. We see the statistics, how many women are working in the garments industries, but there is no real statistics for the agricultural industries. And agriculture, it means not only aquaculture. It doesn't mean only livestock. It doesn't mean only the crop. It's so diversified. When the calculation comes, when the number of people comes, it is in a one sector or the other. We need to attribute, we need to give the recognition to the women who are working in these fields. And these are the ladies without any family support, without any child care support, without anything else. They are already in the field. And our rural economy is such that women actually have to work a lot in the home. So after working at home, they're giving this time, these hours on the field, and we have not been able to give them the recognition. So the rice that we eat on our plate, we as women, we do not recognize the fact that some of the ladies must have cut her sleeping hours at night and helped us to put the food in front of us. So we need to do the recognition for the women. And once we do the recognition, then the advancement would come. Then people would come more forward and do some more. In the rural economy, where women are getting a little bit educated, they feel ashamed to work in the field. We need to come out of these kinds of norms so that people come back with more education, with more emphasis on the knowledge and doing the right things in the right time and learning the best techniques of producing something. These are the things that we can help. We can make sure that the regulations are such that we can improve those processes for agriculture.
Yeah. Thank you. So we're nearing the end of the panel discussion. But I have a question which I think is very close to my heart, and I want to ask two women who are here that we can look up to. And we have many women in the audience who are in challenging positions, difficult positions, and they're doing difficult things, right? So how far do you think Bangladeshi women have come? And where do you think we've done really well? Where do you think we can do even better?
I think we have come a long way compared to many other countries. One thing I want to say is, we have seen the success of the RMG sector. So we need to diversify. We need to find that 50% of the women population are women in Bangladesh. So the rural economy, if we can engage the women participation, if they can become economically empowered through agro-processing plant or through some level of engagement, whether it be dairy or any other, or a mix and match, I think if they can partly contribute, even that will make a difference. So we have to, at a root level, give that sort of support to take them forward. And by design, we're going to have packaged foods and more, it has to be more, modern trade has to be better. by policy level, things will have to get better. As a matter of fact, when you go from LDC to developing country, by design it will happen. So automatically I see rural women will have to come up and contribute. And that's the only way. And I think if we can align it with export, we could have a couple of different tangents of export. Aqua export, vegetable export. We are the third largest export vegetable producing country in the world. So you see excess, there's so much potential to grow. And very importantly, I want to say, the policy level, we have to make sure that it's at the international standard. Just like RNG sector is going green, we have to have that good manufacturing practice, and also proper agronomic practices have to happen, the right kind of agrochemicals that are bio-friendly, they're good for the environment. All these combined together, I think, will, and if it is aligned well, there is no way, no one can stop us to become the developed country by 2041. Thank you.
Uzma, what do you want to add?
I already told about the recognition. We also need to know the technique. We need more education on the technique. In whatever we are doing, we need to learn good agricultural practices, and we have to have the education on this. Our medias are focusing on only the entertainment part, but if we can educate these women or inform these women that you are actually a resource and you are actually contributing to our GDP, you are making part in the national progression and the GDP growth, that is something that will give better push to the women population, and they will come forward, more forward. Without the recognition, without giving any kind of incentive, we have come this far. If we get the recognition, if we get the some incentive, any knowledge, I'm pretty sure we can go a long way too.
Thank you. Inam Bhai, would you like to add? I want to know how can Bangladeshi men support women better?
I think I think that's the Research Secretary said. They are supporting, but I think there's always that we can do more. I think it's never enough. So I think it's about, I think in terms of decision making, allowing them to speak up more, allowing them to be the decision maker in that sense. I think those are the things that can make a very, very impactful way. So I think there's a lot more that men can do in terms of supporting women, and we have a long way to go. And I would not say that's only for Bangladesh, but that's for the whole world. One thing I just want to add in terms of just the policy matter, because they were saying, and because we have the respected secretary over here, is that, you know, we talk about the agro sector, we're talking about the cold chain and cold storage. That's so important. And I am the president of the Bangladesh Supermarket Owners Association, and I'll just say one thing. We use the word cold storage and cold chain management. There's no chain if there's no supermarket at the end. Even we heard the foreign speaker, Andreas, speak, and how he was talking about the supermarket word. I counted it, he said over 9 times. So just to give 2 numbers, ACI Shopno has done very well in the past 10 years, where now they have over a couple of 100 stores. But the number 1 and the number 2 supermarket chains in Indonesia, Aldi-Mart and Indomart, I think Appa, you might even have an idea. One of them has 20,000 stores, the other has 18,000 stores. Actually, by now in Bangladesh, we should have had more than 15,000 supermarkets between like Shopnor, Agro, and Mina Bazar. In every single village, there should have been one. So actually, our policies have not supported that, unfortunately, over the years. If we don't go that, even the fact that we want to become the kind of middle-income country and actually do this food processing and go forward, that cold chain does get broken. So hopefully those support we can do. These are conversations we'll continuously have and we'll keep continuing to have, and I think that's one step we need to go further forward.
Thank you to the entire panel. We will take some questions from the audience. Dr. Firdausi, she's representing FBCCI. She's also a scientist. Would you like to ask a question? I think you wanted to address the panel also.
Thank you very much for inviting me here.
Average person here. My father also instituted the business around 30 years back, and I've been working with him pretty much even before I understood what working means. But Personally, I am really interested in agro, and I really want to diversify my business. And as the great panelists have already mentioned, that's exactly how a country develops, and we should be moving as well. So I just have a specific question about flowers per se, because that was an idea that I really wanted to, I don't know, persuade myself. That is, for example, again, as the economy is growing and we are getting more and more used to the luxuries of the world, for example, our wedding industry and all this, the flower dependency in Bangladesh is becoming huge. And I know most of it, the exotic flowers that are being used in wedding industries and so on are all imported. And there's a huge tax on it and a huge logistics cost and transportation cost as well. That's pretty much where my motivation came from, and I started reading up on all of the countries that the flowers are being imported from currently, such as Cambodia and so on.
The question, please.
Yeah, so my question was if any of the panelists had any ideas about this, because I tried to reach out to a few people, but I haven't really gotten anywhere. Not a lot of people have any ideas about this so far. So any point of contact from the government area where we could maybe follow up about this, or a point of research that was being conducted by any source maybe. It's basically just a point of inspiration and motivation from any of you. It would really help. Yeah, thank you.
Horticulture Center. They have good resources. They can help you, and there are other people who are actually exporting, mainly in Joshore, Chinaitaho area. It's a very Godkhali.
But it is all imported plants coming to the Pune, Bombay, India, China, and they grow it. No, flower seedlings are growing here. I know that's fact.
Okay.
You can contact with me also. Right?
Yes.
Thank you so much. I will definitely follow up with her. Thank you.
আমাদের একটা প্রজেক্টও আছে বিআরসিপি বাংলাদেশ রিজিওনাল কানেক্টিভিটি প্রজেক্ট এখানে একটা গবেষণা হয়েছে মিস্টার মিজানুর রহমান হি ইজ দ্য প্রজেক্ট ডিরেক্টর আই থিংক ইন দ্য ওয়েবসাইট ইউ ক্যান ফাইন্ড অলসো হিজ কন্টাক্ট নাম্বার এন্ড অলসো ইমেল ওটা বেশ কাজ করেছে আপনার ওই খামারবাড়ি এবং এগ্রিকালচার ইউনিভার্সিটি সায়েন্টিস্ট আর অলসো ইনভলভ ওখান থেকে হয়তো ইনসাইট পাবেন বা কিভাবে আপনি গবেষণা করতে পারেন এটা ভালো একটা গবেষণা হয়েছে থ্যাংক ইউ
so much.
Thank you. Okay, quickly we will take one more question. Ashirappa.
Thank you. I am Nasreen Sultana. I am also a proud member of Hookups as well, and also Women Entrepreneurs Network for Development Service. Everyone. I've been listening to all your conversations. I just missed you have spoken about rural women and the big players in the market, the food processing industry. But I think you have actually should also take into account the middle segment, which are the SMEs like us, women entrepreneurs like us. A lot of women are actually attending this summit, where you will see that they are into food processing also. So you should actually take them into account, and I would actually request you to actually provide a kind of access to them, because at the moment what they're doing, they are actually preparing at home their food products, their spices and all that, and they're selling through Facebook, right? Facebook e-commerce and all that. But I think there should be, but they cannot grow. The expansion issue is always there, but they want to expand. So I think supermarkets like you, which is under your directory, then you can actually create something for them for homemade goods. I know you do keep, you have shelves for homemade products in your supermarkets, but I think there could be extension of those more, because they have to go through, I know, they have to go through a lot of certification process and all that, but you can educate them. At the moment, they are being educated through SME Foundation and of course the BRCP projects, because a lot of entrepreneurs that my colleagues are actually doing the project, the training under them. So I think I would request you to actually not to forget about that segment in the middle. Okay, thank you so much.
Certification is the only issue where we cannot usually take food cooked at home. There is some restriction, but in Vietnam, Singapore, they usually sell in specific areas, like in different areas. ধরেন মোড়ে মোড়ে বাসায় যাওয়ার সময় যারা ওয়ার্কিং পিপল আছে তারা যেন কিনে নিয়ে যেতে পারে, এরকম যদি কোনো একটা জায়গা আমরা তৈরি করতে পারি locally. ধরেন মোহাম্মদপুরে কোনো একটা, I'm just giving you an example. In Mohammadpur, if you can set up a small stall like that, সিপির যেরকম মোবাইল কার্ড, সিপির যেরকম ছোট একটা স্টোর থাকে, সেরকম একটা স্টোর নিয়ে অ্যাজ আ কম্বাইন্ড অ্যাক্টিভিটি কোলাবোরেটিভলি আমরা যদি ওখানে জিনিস রেখে যেতে পারি, পিপল হু আর কনজিউমিং দে উড নো দ্যাট সামবডি ইজ কুকিং দেয়ার অর লিভিং দেয়ার ফুড আইটেম ফর সেল।
Yes, I know. I think ACI, আমি স্বপ্নর ইয়েতে বাইরে আমি দেখেছি, but I'm talking about other things, not this cooked food. I'm talking about spices. I'm talking about mango, fish. তারপর আমাদের একজন এন্টারপ্রেনার ক্যাশিউ নাট করছে, এই টাইপের জিনিসগুলো যদি করা যায়,
এই সবগুলির জন্য the certification is very important. So certificationটা আমাদেরকে আরেকটু available করতে হবে, and that I would request our BSTI can help us. BSTI can certify some of our products. If the BSTI certification is there, then we can keep it in the stores.
Absolutely. আর আপনার নলেজের জন্য একটু বলি যে প্রজেক্টগুলো এসএমই ফাউন্ডেশন আর বিআরসিপির আন্ডার হচ্ছে, এই ফ্রম টপ টু এন্ড পুরো প্রসেসটাই কিন্তু তারা ট্রেনড আপ হচ্ছে। সো ইটস নট দ্যাট দে ডু নট নো। সো এটা হচ্ছে, সো ইউ হ্যাভ মানে অপরচুনিটিস দেয়ার টু লুক ফর। থ্যাংক ইউ নাই।
Thank you. Thank you very much for the questions. May I now request Mr. Topon Kanti Ghosh, Senior Secretary, Ministry of Commerce, our Honorable Chief Guest, to say a few words on the topic of agriculture and food processing and female involvement as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I really feel honored to have the opportunity to talk in front of so many young entrepreneurs, and also, the very resourceful panelists and leading figure in our food processing industry, and also coming from women folk. So I actually personally I'm a very I put great respect to the writings and works of Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar and Begum Rokeya, the exponent of women empowerment. And so I really feel good wherever I can have the opportunity to talk to women entrepreneurs, women at large. And it's very, I think it has got a lot of significance that in Bangladesh, last 32 years, the country is being run by women leader. I think there is no other country that for so many years the country is being run, and not only the honorable prime minister. There are other big leaders in the political arena, in the professional, in every profession. I think there is, and also in the high position. Even I think in some of the European countries you will not find women in some high positions. In the lower level jobs you will find millions, but in the high positions in business and in bureaucracy and in others, I think it's very, Bangladesh has done a unique thing, I think. And there was a question of supporting from the men. I think of course men have been supporting, otherwise it would have not been possible. But there is also much room to more support, and allowing women, empowering them to do more on behalf of the women. And I think agriculture and women has maybe very, not vice versa. I think it's a 1,000 years of relation, I can say. Maybe the first seed was sown by a woman 10,000 years back or even more. So it's a very good subject, and in terms of policy support, I think both women and agriculture sector gets a lot of support from the government. Sometimes we call it the positive discrimination. In the legal area also, if we see the legal framework of Bangladesh in favor of women, being a woman, a human being. So these, I think, I think beyond going to a lot of technical issues, what Uzma said, I think I greatly appreciate her view that we should recognize and give respect to common people, not only women, even in our garment sector. The common people that I think last 50 years, they have been, they have been, they have transformed the economy in a significant way. If you say the garments workers, 4.5 million, the 10 million people that works outside Bangladesh and send remittance, and millions of people in the agriculture sector. If these three sector of people, do we give them due respect? We should ask ourselves. Still now? I don't think so. So these all actually reflects in our, happening, that why we are being hindered in some of the issues, why we are lagging behind in implementing policies, because we don't give due respect to these people. I mean, majority of the people, maybe some of, very high class or very educated people or women, we see here, they are being respected due to their maybe social high position or education or their money. But I'm talking about the millions of people, millions of women, those who don't have much fortune. Do we give them respect, first of all? If we don't give them respect, then I'm not going to give you, that facility, or okay, please come, I will give you loan and all this. No, this comes later on. So after 50 years of independence, I think we should self-retrospect. Everybody, not only me, I think everybody in position particularly and also in beyond, that first we should give respect and dignity to the people, to common people. Because this is also our national goal and global goal. What does SDG says? Sustainable Development Goals. That no one would be left, behind. So I think we have to work in those areas also, and that is being done, of course, through enhancing education, through enhancing, giving more opportunity, economic opportunity to people, to women. But with this, the giving due respect, giving proactive response to women or the less fortunate people, that is all still lagging. So if I come to the very practical issue that the business, agro-processing, agriculture goods, it has got two sides, domestic market and international market. I think it's great time to have first explore the domestic opportunity. And that is being done by some very big companies like ACI, Pran and others. How it could have been much better if we could have introduced the cooperative system that we failed actually. Then these very small farmers, what Mr. Inam Ahmed said, that 85% of our farmers are very marginal farmers or small farmers. And they produce, but they also face a lot of challenges, particularly with regard to marketing. They don't get their price because they don't have any vehicle to bring those products from Jal, Dhaka, Lakshmipur or Nilphamari to Dhaka. So there is a very big gap. Either big conglomerates, corporate like we see, they can fill the gap directly with this contact farmer, or there has to be cooperative. Those who can defy some of the words along the road, the chadabaji and all these, একসঙ্গে যে vehicle লাগবে. So এই দুইটা উপায় হতে পারে, but cooperative I don't see much. Cooperative is of course best, and even in the, you would be astonished that even in the developed countries, because সম্পদের মালিকানা, in our constitution there is 3 types of malikana, private entrepreneurship, the government entrepreneurship, and also the cooperative. But cooperative sector is the most neglected in Bangladesh, and it is thought that cooperative is not compliant to the market economy. That is not true. Even in Europe, I have lived few years in Belgium, and I saw that how cooperative is working in that sort of developed market economy. So why cannot we do that? Denmark, all the North European countries, they much rely, particularly in agriculture sector, because in agriculture sector, individual farmers, they cannot do much. You must have cooperative or be corporate house and then linking with the farmers. But which one is better? I think if cooperative is there, that is much better in terms of bringing well-being and also distribution of wealth, you know, among all the actors in the production process. It is not happening in Bangladesh, but I think we should be quite happy that in another way it is happening, that big groups are coming, they are taking care of this production, they are linking this production to marketing, to selling, and also bringing the quality, the compliance, that is very important. Now if we go for export, then compliance is the main thing, the sanitary, phytosanitary issues, the good agricultural practice. Particularly myself, I was trying, last few years, talking everywhere about introduction of good agricultural practice in Bangladesh, but that has not happened yet. So I saw that if you only focus on some contract farming and all this doesn't bring a good result, because there is always, possibility of মধ্যে সমস্যা হয়ে যায়. And also we are then discriminating against our own people, because we are producing compliant and quality goods with certification for our foreign guests for export. But for our people, we don't care. We are just producing with all those bad fertilizer, chemical, and whatnot. So is it fair? আমাদের তো এটা ask করা উচিত, আমার তো জিজ্ঞাসা করা উচিত, is it fair? দেশের মানুষকে কেন গুরুত্ব দিচ্ছে না? So এখানে lot of work I think we have to do. এত কিছু কাজ করার আছে যে এটা চিন্তা করা যায়. So there also lies the opportunity for any sort of business. যেহেতু আপনার ঘাটতি আছে, so you will have to do, as your income is growing, your awareness is raising, so you must, the whole population will go for quality food, will go for cook up food, and also the compliance issue will come. So ekhane we need, of course, education is growing, but we need also training. We need also how to make business, how to make an account, how to have connection with the foreign buyers. And there, although government is providing a lot of trainings, but I think it's not enough in two counts. One is that those who are getting the training, they are not being linked to production, gainful employment or any production facility. And also, I think it is sometimes not, the employability of those training is not sometimes satisfactory. So if the private sector, I will urge that if the private sector gives training, of course I think they are giving, then they will better assess the market, the need of the market, and they will give training, they will make them employable maybe in their enterprise or maybe otherwise. So I think the government, along with the government sector, the private sector also come forward to impart training to women entrepreneurs, particularly in the agriculture sector, and to have success in export market. Another thing is also very important, is the price competitiveness. And there also we lack very much. If we talk about beef or even egg, the international price and the domestic price, there is a big differential. So you cannot compete in international market if you cannot produce at a lower cost. If the Brazil, Argentina, they can sell 1 kg beef in 350 taka and you produce 700 taka, so you are not, you cannot be going to compete. For egg also, ডিমের দামে কিন্তু অনেক তফাৎ আছে, even with our neighboring country. So our consumers are paying much more for the very necessity, daily necessity food. So there also lies a lot of opportunity for women and for everybody, that you please produce quality goods with less cost. So you have to be more productive, more determined, and the future is yours, I think. So আমি সত্যি খুশি যে the women of our country has come forward so much. In every sphere we see our women doing very good. In South Asia we are the champion, the participation of women in the workforce. In South Asia we are the champion. Even with some East Asian countries, I think Bangladesh women are doing excellent. If we compare with our competitor countries like Vietnam or some other countries, even Japan. Actually recently I visited Japan. I was a student of economics and we studied the economic development of 5 countries. Among them it was Japan. But I think the Japanese women not even compares with Bangladeshi women, because what I have seen, although it was very short, short tour, that in the lower echelon of the professions, jobs, lot of millions of women, but in the higher ups, I saw, I met the jet officials in the economy, Ministry of Economy. I didn't see, many women in the upper level almost. So I think we should be proud of our women, and we must respect them. We must give proactive support to them, so that their journey can be more smooth and sustainable. So with this, I would like to end here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Honorable Secretary. Inam Bhai, Shushmita Appa, Usma Appa, and Andreas for giving us time and gracing the session. It is clear that Bangladesh has done very well in many respects in agriculture as a highly agriculturally productive nation. We've also done very well in terms of female empowerment, especially in the last 2 decades. But in order to take us forward, we need investments and technology transfers in higher level manufacturing, storage, processing, and not just at field level. We hope that everyone present here, that is the decision makers in public and private sector, have taken note and will strive in the said direction to capture some of the global $6 billion USD food processing market in the next 5 years. So thank you very much. Thank you to the panel also. We have some crests to give. We'll be happy to hand them over. Thank you.